Your EV showed 300 miles of range when you drove it off the lot, but 3 months in, you're consistently seeing something closer to 230 on a good day. You've not abused the battery, skipped a charge, or changed anything about how you drive. The number is just never what the sticker said it would be, and there is a very specific reason for that. In the first week of a new EV, almost every driver goes through the same moment. You check the range in the morning, it says 280 miles. You drive to work, maybe 18 miles, and somehow the range drops 31. You drive home the same route, and it only drops 22. You plug in overnight, wake up to 263, and you haven't done anything aggressive yet. And the thought that creeps in is, something must be wrong with my car. Nothing is wrong with your car, but the way you're reading that number, that's where the confusion starts. Most of us grew up with gas cars. The fuel gauge goes down as you drive. It's not perfectly linear, but it's close enough. You fill up, you see a full tank, you know roughly what that means. The number doesn't change based on mood. EV range doesn't work that way, and once you understand why, that fluctuating number stops being frustrating and starts making complete sense. Here's what most people miss. EV ownership comes with a learning curve that nobody warns you about at the dealership. The salesperson talks about the battery size, the charging speed, and the 0 to 60. They hand you the keys and send you off. Nobody sits down and explains that the range figure on the dash is a living, breathing estimate that responds to everything around it. That gap in education is responsible for more EV frustration than almost any technical issue with the cars themselves. Your EV isn't showing a fixed number. That range estimate on your dashboard isn't a measurement. It's a prediction. Your car is constantly running a calculation in the background, looking at how much battery you have left, how efficiently you've been driving over the last several miles, what the temperature is doing, how fast you're going, and what the energy demand looks like right now. It takes all of that, runs the math, and gives you its best guess at how far you can go. Change any one of those inputs and the estimate changes. This is fundamentally different from a gas car, where the tank holds a fixed amount of fuel and the only variable is how fast you're burning it. With an EV, the usable capacity itself shifts based on conditions, and the car's estimate is constantly catching up to reality. That's not a flaw in the design. It's the car being honest with you in real time. The problem is, nobody explains this when you buy the thing. So the changing number feels like something is broken when it's actually something working exactly as intended. Why highway driving changes everything. Here's the one that surprises almost every new EV owner. You leave home fully charged. The estimate says 270 miles. You get on the highway, cruise at 75 miles per hour for an hour, and suddenly the number has dropped way faster than you expected. Your mental math isn't adding up. This happens because of aerodynamic drag, and drag doesn't scale evenly with speed. It scales exponentially. Going from 55 to 75 miles doesn't increase your energy consumption by a little. It increases it significantly. At highway speeds, your EV is working much harder per mile than it does in the city. This is the exact opposite of what gas car drivers are used to. Gas cars get better mileage on the highway than in stop-and-go city traffic. EVs flip that relationship. City driving, with its lower speeds and regenerative braking, is actually where EVs are most efficient. The highway is where range takes the biggest hit. Real-world data backs this up. Studies show that sustained fast lane driving at 75 to 80 miles per hour can cut your range by 10 to 25% compared to mixed driving at moderate speeds. That's not a defect, that's physics. The practical takeaway here is simple. If you're on a long road trip and you're watching the range drop faster than expected, the first thing to check isn't your battery, it's your speed. Dropping from 80 miles per hour to 60 miles per hour on an interstate stretch doesn't feel that dramatic in terms of travel time, but the efficiency difference is real and meaningful. On a 250-mile trip, that one adjustment can be the difference between making your charging stop comfortably and arriving with 4% left and a racing heart. Temperature has a bigger impact than most people realize. Cold weather and hot weather both affect your range, just in different ways. In the cold, your battery chemistry slows down. The cells don't deliver energy as efficiently. On top of that, your car has to heat the cabin, and unlike a gas car, which gets the heat essentially for free from engine waste, your EV powers the heater directly from the battery. Real-world winter testing has shown range drops anywhere from 15 to 40% in freezing conditions, depending on how hard the heater is working and how short the trips are. In the heat, the thermal management system works overtime to keep the battery cool, and that draws power too. Air conditioning in an EV runs off the main battery, not an engine. And on a hot day, it can shave 10 to 20% off your estimate. What this means practically, the range number you see on a 70-degree spring morning is going to look noticeably better than what you see on a February commute or a July road trip. Same car, same battery, same driver, completely different estimates. The label on the window was tested in a climate-controlled lab. Your commute is not a climate-controlled lab. Before we go further, if this is the kind of EV content you actually want to watch, hit subscribe. We cover the real stuff, no fluff. Why your driving style matters so much. Here's something most drivers don't realize. Your car is learning from you. The range estimate isn't based on the EPA number. It's based on your recent driving. The algorithm looks back at how efficiently you've been using energy over the last stretch and projects that pattern forward. Drive aggressively for 20 minutes with hard acceleration, high speeds, and late braking, the estimate recalculates downward because the car now expects more of that. Ease off, smooth out your inputs, let the car coast into stops instead of braking hard, and you'll often watch the number recover on its own. I noticed this personally when I started paying attention of how I drove in the first few miles of a trip. The early pattern sets the tone for the estimate. A calm start keeps the number looking healthy. A spirited launch out of the neighborhood, and the estimate immediately adjusts. Regenerative braking also plays into this. Every time you lift off the accelerator and let the motor slow the car down, you're recovering energy and feeding it back to the battery. That's real range. The drivers who use it consistently see meaningfully better results than those who brake all the way to a stop every time. Your driving style isn't just affecting efficiency. It's actively shaping what the car thinks the future will look like. Think of two drivers sharing the same EV. One drives smoothly, lifts off early, and uses one pedal driving around town. The other floors it with every light and brakes hard at every stop sign. Put them both in the same car, on the same route, and their real-world range can differ by 15 to 20%. Same battery, same conditions, completely different outcomes. That gap is entirely down to inputs behind the wheel, and it's one of the few variables you have complete control over every single time you drive. Why the range number sometimes recovers. This one confuses people the most. You start a drive and the range is dropping fast. Then you slow down, get off the highway, hit some traffic, drive a few miles at lower speeds, and suddenly the estimate starts climbing again. You gain miles without charging. The battery didn't heal itself. You didn't get energy from nowhere. What happened is the estimate recalculated. The conditions changed to lower speeds, better efficiency, maybe some regenerative braking, and the car updated its projection based on the new data. If you keep driving this way, you'll actually go further than the previous estimate suggested. This is the range meter working correctly. It's a live estimate, not a fixed countdown. The moment your inputs change, the output changes too. Understanding this takes a lot of the anxiety out of watching the number. It's not a fuel gauge, ticking toward empty. It's a rolling prediction that's always adjusting to what's actually happening. The biggest misunderstanding about EV range. Most people buy an EV thinking the range number is a guarantee. The manufacturer says 300 miles. You expect to regularly see 300 miles. But that rated range, whether it's EPA in the US or WLTP in Europe, was never designed to be a real-world promise. It was designed to let you compare one EV against another under identical conditions. The test happens on a flat dynamometer in a controlled lab. No wind, no hills, perfect temperature, standardized speeds. It's a benchmark, not a forecast. The WLTP figure used in Europe is actually known to run 20 to 30% higher than what drivers see on the road. Real-world tests by independent organizations consistently show that gap. The Tesla Model Y long range, rated at 364 miles on WLTP, averaged around 258 miles in actual testing, a 29% difference. The VW ID3, rated 353 miles, averaged 280. Every model shows some gap. How big it is depends on the car and the conditions. EPA ratings in the US are closer to reality because they apply a correction factor to bring the lab numbers down. But even EPA ratings are tested under conditions most drivers never replicate exactly. The rated range is the ceiling under near-perfect conditions. Your real-world range is what you get when life happens. What I personally pay attention to instead. Once I stopped staring at the range number and started paying attention to something else, driving my EV got a lot less stressful. The number I actually watch is efficiency miles per kilowatt hour, or kilowatt hour per 100 miles, depending on how your car displays it. It tells me how hard the car is working right now. not a prediction of some future state. It responds instantly to speed, to throttle input, to temperature, and it gives me real, actionable information. When my efficiency is good, I know the range estimate will take care of itself. When it's suffering, usually because I'm on the highway at speed or it's cold outside, I adjust my expectations and plan accordingly rather than worrying about a fluctuating number on the dash. I also keep a realistic buffer. Instead of counting on the rated range for any trip planning, I knock 20 to 25% off and work with that. If the car is rated at 280 miles, I plan around 210 to 220 and treat anything beyond that as headroom. That one habit alone eliminates most of the range anxiety that new EV drivers carry around. Your range estimate is dynamic because driving is dynamic. Weather changes, routes change, your speed changes. Your car's job is to keep up with all that in real time. And honestly, it does a pretty good job. The frustration usually comes from expecting it to behave like a gas gauge, when it was never designed to. Understand what the number is actually telling you, and it becomes useful instead of confusing. Drop a comment below. Does your EV range match what you expected, or has it surprised you? And subscribe if you want more content that actually explains how this stuff works.